Just do it. How are you, people? It's Phil and Peter, and we are here for our X Files review, episodes 1 through 5 of season 8. And I forgot to change that there, Pete. I just saw it now on the title card. I
Yeah,
had it
it's
from
season
season
9.
8. I
Yeah,
still have it from last season, but season 9, episodes 1 to 5 is what we're going to be talking about today. Guys, it's been a long journey. Um, but we're here at the end of the original end of the X Files, let's say. Um, we have managed to do it. We have managed to do it. Thank you, everybody that supports the channel. Thank you, everyone who likes and subscribes. We got a few new subscribers this week. Uh, and yeah, we're going to get right into it because why not? Okay, so season 9, I will say this, Pete, before we do get into it. Chris Carter said of season 9, we lost our audience on the first episode. It's like the audience had gone away and it didn't know, and I didn't know how to find them. I didn't want to work to get them back because I believed what we were doing deserved to have them back. So this kind of sets up the way a lot of people feel about season 9, which is a show that was just a shell of what it used to be. And I went into this season, Pete, really trying to be as objective as possible because I remember when I did my first run, my rewatch a couple years back, I slept through half of these episodes. So I said, let me pay attention, let me do my best to really give this one a go. And I know there's some fans in the X Files groups who really love season 9. But without getting into too much detail, because we saved that for the last episode, not my favorite season. Okay, but we
right.
will
But
talk.
as far as shows deteriorating, I don't think it deteriorated as badly as some I've watched. I mean, like compared to Dallas, for example, where it peaked at season 7, and then there was like 7 more seasons where it got progressively worse. This
Yeah,
wasn't that.
yeah, yeah. No, you still get glimmers of it's watchable. I'll give it that
Yeah.
much. It's definitely watchable, but it's not something I would put back and watch again. But we're gonna get into episode 1. Nothing important happened today, which is a reference to King George in his
Yes.
diary when the Americans became America. So this episode premiered on November 11th, 2001 to 10.6 million viewers, written by Chris Carter and Frank Sputnitz, directed by the great Kim Manners, has a
Hmm.
7.6 rating. And well, Kim Manners really saves this episode, especially with that opening little scene.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the
Wow.
end scene as well.
Yes, yes, yes. So much good stuff as far as the filming. It's just really a messy plot. But anyway, Pete will get into that. But the quick synopsis here, guys, is that while Agent Scully is on maternity leave, Agent Doggett asks for help as he investigates the death of an EPA official who died after his car was forced off a bridge by a very hot woman, although that's not written here, but she is. He
Hot
picked
naked
up.
woman.
Yes, it's Lucy Lawless, guys. She's in this episode, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult to like outdo Scully and even Reyes. Reyes is a little
Yeah.
younger, but Lucy Lawless comes on, and you're just like, what a woman, man! And such a great. I've heard quite a few interviews with her and Howard Stern. Real fun, real uh, lover of her fans, from Xena and friend to the LGBTQ plus whatever community. So cool lady. Anyhow, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, so we kind of ended last season with Mulder and Scully gonna be like a nuclear family with their alien baby. And it
Hmm.
seems like they're gonna live happily ever after, but turns out at the beginning of this season, Mulder's gone. This time he wasn't abducted by aliens. He's on the run because he knows too much. He's been fired by the FBI. He knows too much. So he's on the run. Scully says she doesn't know where he is. You kind of get the feeling that she does, but she doesn't want to give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Doggett is coming around to the team. He's becoming a team player now. And as far as he's concerned, like Kirsch is responsible for everything. So he's actually started an investigation into Kirsch, which is totally going to fuck his career. Totally going to fuck his career. Kirsch is not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the meantime, he's still like the only person working on the X Files, really, because Scully's on maternity leave. So he gets this case of this dude, and we see what happens to him in the opening scene. He
Was
picks
it?
up this,
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, he picks up this chick at a bar, and while he's driving her home, she drives their car off a bridge, and then she holds him down while he's drowning. But the evidence reveals that he was like held down underwater, so there was someone in the car with him. And this ties into the super soldier mythology. This girl, who's played by Lucy Lawless, was a super soldier. And this guy turns out to be an EPA agent who was working with the government on this super soldier program. Um, so, not much gets resolved in this episode because it's a two-parter, except for the fact that Doggett actually has to bring Scully and Reyes in on it. And Scully is the one who, with her, forensic detective work, figures out that there was someone else in the car. And they, I forget how they track it down. Oh yeah, right. They figure like she must have escaped into like the sewer systems or something. I forget how it winds up that Doggett is actually there, but it ends with
Well,
Doggett at like
he tries to contact his old Marine friend to get information.
right,
What happened to
yeah,
what happened to this No Roar, which I think is that the
yeah,
guy that.
yeah. No roar, yeah, yeah, but he's also a super soldier.
Yes. And then Doggett keeps. Let me see. Doggett contact. So Scully's baby does a little crib action. Showing he's got superpowers.
There is like yeah, little baby doing
Um, So yeah, that's
telekinesis
when she
shit in
figures
there.
out how to do. So the end of this episode is the lone gunmen find that Wormus has been receiving data from McFarland, the drowned reclamation worker. Agent Doggett breaks into McFarland's office with A.D. Skinner and finds files on chloramine, but Fomer arrives. Doggett slips into a filtration tank to escape, and that's the cliffhanger because he's pulled deep into the water by
Yeah,
McMahon.
Lucy Lawless drags him down
Yes,
while he's trying to
yes,
hide.
and then
And
it's.
Skinner is there. This is what I remember because we're gonna might as well segue into episode two.
Mhm.
But this is one thing I really remember because yeah, Doggett and Skinner are there together trying
Yep.
to investigate what happened, and the FBI is coming basically to bust Doggett for being a douche and investigating Kirsch. And when the FBI arrives, Skinner's like, I was here to bust him just like you guys. I'm one of the good guys.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this was a good episode. It definitely led to some things with what's his name, little baby William being all creepy and exorcist shit. Doggett standing up to Kirsch was real ballsy shit. Lucy Lawless was hot as fuck, and it manages to make this new mythology work pretty well and hit the ground running with a pretty good start to the season. Like I don't think they I think Chris Carter is wrong when he says that he lost the audience with the beginning of this season. I think it's just that the end of last season felt so much like the end. People were done, like
Mm.
they're like, okay, you've told all the story. stories you got to tell. So I don't think a lot of people came back from season 8. Not that it was bad, just that people felt like, yeah, that's enough. But this is a good start. I like this episode.
Yeah, I didn't mind it either. Like I said, I love the opening. One of the better openings in the for the an episode with the car crash and everything. One thing I didn't like, which is very arbitrary here, is the new theme song. It's so happy and stuff. I was so glad when they went back to the original theme for the reboot seasons. I don't know, like
Hmm.
it sounded more like peppy. And yeah, no, the company on the title card, and I think that might have lost some people because it's like, good lord, you just bring Mulder back or Duchovny back for
Exactly.
really good episodes, and then now all of a sudden he's just gone out of nowhere, and they keep
Hmm.
bringing his name up. And where's Mulder? And where's Mulder? And it's like you said, I think people are just like, yeah, I don't really care anymore. They should have just let it be the Doggett and Reyes show, which it eventually does happen, but
Hmm.
it's what do you call it? Too much of the shadow of Mulder. I kind of like how Kurt treats Brad. We find out, well, just a few episodes later, we found out that Kirsch may actually be on the good side here or trying to help a little bit. And I called it. I said, Pete, that it's a kind of a middle of the season type episode for me.
Yeah.
Because the season openers are way more. I don't know, a little bit more action filled. It's not that meandering type of a mythology of putting this
Well, they
piece.
usually pick up a plot from the
Exactly. Yeah.
previous season, and this
Yeah.
is starting from scratch. But
Exactly.
not really though, because the Carrie Ellis character, Brad, he goes all the way back to what season 2 was Crawl. Like that character goes back a long ways. It was
Mm-hmm.
amazing that they brought him back, and he was such a douche then. And you got the impression that he boned Scully previously in
Yeah,
their
but he
in
found
their
somebody else
F-
apparently.
yeah, he boned Monica too. So he boned Monica and Scully, like fist bump, dude. Like
E.D.
from a
Brad
set.
Former.
Yeah, yeah.
What is? Let me see. Is it the same guy? Because here they on the
I,
wiki, it's saying that this is his first appearance on the X Files. Are you sure
I
maybe it wasn't the same actor but playing a different character?
it could be a different character, but I'm pretty sure his name was Brad too.
Was it? Because here it makes it a point to say this is the first, uh, uh, what do you call it? The first appearance of this character on an episode. Let me see. This episode marks the first appearance of Carrie Ells as assistant director Brad Former, who was named after Chris Carter's writing assistant. So maybe
Okay.
that first episode. Let me see. Yeah, they only have them listed as
Yeah, I'm
Carrie.
looking at that too.
So I don't
I,
know. Are you sure you're
uh,
not confusing it with the guy from Gotham from that early season? He was a bit of a douche. Wasn't he
yeah,
on?
I
Wasn't he on season one?
yeah, I don't know. Facts don't lie, and I'm not seeing him showing up in any other season of the X Files. But okay, fair enough. Nevertheless, Carrie Ellis is a great actor,
Yeah, he
and
plays the perfect douchebag.
yes, yes, and yeah, he becomes a pretty important character in this season, actually,
He
and
does. He does.
he's great with that American accent too. Like of all British actors who do great American accents, he's like one of the best.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but for me, it was just this. This is the only criticism, and I can understand maybe what Carter was saying. It's like, folks, because I said, look, Mulder disappearing again after a great season 8 leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. and then you're restarting this whole mythology, and it's slow. It feels like the pilot episode versus Deep Throat, which is just like boom. It seems like we're in the
Right.
middle of the action already with Deep Throat versus the pilot episode, which is, takes its time. In episodes like these, we're used to it like in the middle of the season where they're just talking and trying to figure out who's here and why were they there and this and that. So I get it. I get it. Where people can just be turned off by it. But that leads right into part two, guys, of nothing important happened here. And where's my little cheat sheet? It is gone because I was looking for stuff on Carrie L's. And nothing important happened today, not here. Part two premiered on November 11th to 9.4 million viewers, so a little drop there. And it has a 7.7 rating on IMDb, and written and directed by the same. Oh no, directed by Tony Wamby, but written by Chris Carter and Frank Sputnitz. And basically, Scully and Doggett and Reyes are led to a ship where they find evidence of experimentation on human embryos. Now, I'll give you this much: I couldn't remember much from the Super Soldier storyline from having watched it way back when, and it's actually pretty streamlined.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's because
compared
it's
to
short.
compared to the
Alien invasion
alien invasion.
storyline.
Who's working with who? We're working with them, but we're really tricking them into thinking we're working with them, and this, that, and the third. Um, and yeah, now we get to see Fomer having a little bit more to do and really trying to take a Doggett down. And you get his relationship with Reyes. We realize, hey, they had something going on back then. And we realize, hey, Reyes is on the team. She is on the team until she isn't in season 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Bullshit.
um, but he wants her to distance himself from Doggett because of his investigations on Kirsch, but he feels like he's got his own agenda. Meanwhile, Scully, and this, guys, is my biggest criticism of season 9, is just Scully just becomes this moping, sad widow with a magic baby, and we lose so much of the spark of what makes the Scully character so much fun. So it's so depressing, watching her, and it really, even up to the movie, I want to believe, you still feel like she's just sad, and I don't know. It kind of sucks because she's such a great character, but I don't think they really wrote her well. But basically, Doggett gets taken back to his house. He wakes up in McMahon, which is Lucy Lawless' character, is there, and she tells him that this guy No Roars, okay, her and No Roars, sorry, No Roar, are products of 50 years of military science to create super soldiers who cannot be killed. Now, these super soldiers are there maybe to protect us from the alien invasion. I guess that's how it ties in.
Mm-hmm.
But she wants to stop the program, and that's where I get a little confused. And she wants to expose the deaths of these men that she killed. And then Doggett calls Scully, and it's funny because Scully, for once, is like, Doggett, like, what the fuck are you talking about? She doesn't really believe it, whereas Doggett is kind of on Team Super Soldier. And it's so funny to hear Doggett say, "Super soldiers, they're super soldiers," because it's
Yeah,
such
yeah.
like
Well, because he's seen it like so many
he's
times,
seen
right?
it, but it's so weird
But
to
but
see.
he still doesn't accept aliens. He still doesn't accept
Yes, no
aliens.
aliens,
Super
and no aliens.
soldiers, okay. Aliens, no.
And are you telling me these are aliens? But anyway, so Scully needs to do some medical checks on McMahon to see if she is really what she claims to be. And meanwhile, they got this ship there where Noel is drops in and tells the guy that he's the new second in command. He asks him what the vessel's mission is. Yeah, and they find this original second in command floating in the water. So yeah, he kind of killed the guy. It's intimated. But the problem is Scully examines McMahon and finds her to be physically normal. Meanwhile, Doggett is suspended, okay, from the FBI. So he's kind of going through the same motions as Mulder. Uh, but Reyes is untrusting of McMahon too, of Lucy Lawless, and wants to find out a little bit more from her, about her. Finds out she's a DOJ employee and was contacted by this guy Warmus and McFarland to expose the plans to contaminate water supply. The lone gunmen are in here, and they're hearing this conversation, telling where Captain Warmus is telling him to contact the FBI. Anyway, all this stuff is going on, guys. I'm not going to go through this whole plot because it's
Yeah, the lone gunman thing is a whole other thing, man. Because their show got canceled, right? Their show
yeah.
got canceled, so Chris Carter worked all their resolution arcs into the ninth season, which really felt out of place.
It did. It did. And basically, what happens is that there's this big showdown. They discover where the hell these guys are on this ship because this ship has a laboratory in it, apparently. And Lucy Lawless goes there. She has a fight with Roar where he thinks he's got her, but she decapitates the shit out of him. And, and and then the clincher at the end. Oh no, there's a bomb there too. Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that part, which is kind of a cool little scene because you got to have a bomb. But the clincher at the end of this episode, guys, because it's so much stuff going on, is a lot of exposition. Is that um, what do you call it? We find out that Kirsch is the one that was informing Doggett. He's the one that was slipping all the stuff under his desk, and he's the
Mm-hmm.
one that helped, give him evidence to find out where all this stuff was happening on the ship. He's the one that told Mulder that his life was in danger if he stayed, and then Scully was hiding him. And then we do see that McMahon and Roar's lifeless bodies are underwater, except that she snaps too. But then Scully wakes up suddenly, presumably having this nightmare. She goes back to sleep as the mobile above William's crib starts to move on its own accord. Guys, again,
It's a
I don't,
lot.
I don't even know what I just read, and I was having to read that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that uh, small things that I appreciated about the show is just how Skinner now, Mitch Pileggi has to take from season 8. He had to take a bigger role, and he really slipped into it well. I love his paternal side, really taking care of Scully, which is really sweet. Um, I love how these super soldiers love to throw, but Lawless chops heads off is really cool. And kind of nice that Kirch got this nice arc of, okay, he's an asshole, but he may be playing that part in order to protect the agents a little bit, to let them kind of get to the truth. But heavy fucking mythos, man. You're like, what? So I gave it three
Yeah.
stars, but with no punch,
Yeah.
because Carter does the cardinal sin of writing. He's supposed to show and not tell, and he's telling and not showing this whole second episode, which is kind of setting us up for the finale, because the finale is 100% just telling us everything. I'm like, good lord. So wasn't a big fan of this, man. It was like a week 3 for me.
Yeah, I like the first half of this, and I like the second half as well. But as somebody who read the X-Men for more than 40 years, how convoluted this gets reminds me of how convoluted comic book stories get. Like just
Mm-hmm.
how like you change writers, you have to retcon mythos, you have to explain this, you have to explain that. Your explanations are often not that good, and it gets to a point where you have just like dug yourself into a hole where there's like no way out of it, but you still enjoy the story, right? But I mean, like, if you read like even a Wikipedia article about a standard like X-Men character biography, it's like,
Oh,
well, he went into the future, and then he was raised like by aliens 2,000 years in the future, came back to the present, but before he was born. And it's like, holy fuck, man. Like, this is not preconceived writing. This is just like, we have to explain some shit, and this is the best we can come up with. So it's kind of that kind of writing, but given the strength of the first episode and the fact that this is just where we were, I I felt they did the best they could. It worked. Not well, but it still worked.
yeah. Well, that goes back to what I was saying. It's watchable. Like I gave season 9 as a whole a little bit more credit on the second watch than the first watch, but it's just like you said, it's okay. And for a show like the X Files, in the writing talent that they had on the X Files and the acting talent, they're okay as any other shows, like maybe what they aspire to, you know.
Yeah,
So we give a little bit of leeway because of that. But it's exactly what you said, and I think I said that last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Mulder, and I'm like, good lord, the stuff this man has been through, like any normal
that's
person
yeah,
would.
that's very convoluted too. Like, the analogy I was using was actually the character of Cable, who's just like, it makes
Mm,
no sense. Like, the entire character makes no sense. Like,
yeah,
born in the 20th century, sent 200 years in the future, comes back, techno-organic. Well, like, oh my god, like, it's just like writers trying to write themselves out of something that they couldn't explain. So they did the best they could.
yep. And then they come back, and it's just like, okay, they're back, and you just accept it when the company comes back, and it's like, yeah, okay, what
Yeah,
are you doing? Anyway, guys, that's my feelings on that, and I think Pete's feelings on. I'm totally screwed up today, guys. I'm so tired. You know what happened, Pete? I was looking at the pictures. I had the pictures from the last season too, so I was quickly putting up some pictures. So there's beautiful, the girls doing their thing. Anyway, and then we get to this weird episode, which
mm-hmm.
is called Demonicus, which I guess
Daemonicus, I think it is.
Demonicus, and
Mhm.
you could, I guess, say this is the official first. Reyes and Doggett are the leads of this
It
show now,
is. Yeah.
and it premiered on December 2nd, 2001. Was watched by 8.7 million viewers. So man, look at that
Big
drop in
drop.
big drop. That's like season 1 maybe.
Still a large audience though.
Hmm. And it was written by Frank Sputnik and directed by him. We had said last
Yes.
podcast, I think it was his first time writing and directing. Well, he went back for seconds. Scully helps Reyes and Doggett investigate a series of bizarre killings that seem to be due to demonic possession, but which Doggett believes is a hoax. So that's the end for our girl Reyes, because that's her
Hmm.
specialty.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a pretty good occult horror episode, actually. There were a few things about it I didn't like, but for the most part, in terms of getting like the ooh spooky horror vibes thing going, it worked. So it actually starts with like a double that this like old couple in their cabin are like playing Scrabble or something like that, and
Yeah.
they appear to be victimized in a home invasion. And so, like, I think the husband goes to get a gun and shoots one of the invaders, but it turns out to be his wife in a mask.
Hmm.
And the Scrabble board has the word Daemonicus on it, which brings Reyes into the occasion because she's the cult specialist. And this is the thing I didn't like about the episode. She goes like way too hardcore. She's like, I felt the presence of evil. like my
Uh,
gut, yeah, my gut tells me like evil is involved. She doesn't say Satan or the devil. She just like has this abstract concept of evil, and that's what's there. And it's not so much that; it's that we touched on that before in the last season in the episode about Doggett's son being murdered,
hmm.
where there was that sense of evil that transferred from body to body. It's like I know the X Files revisit certain topics from time to time, but this to me it was just like a little too soon.
Yeah, yeah.
But what actually kind of saves it is when we get to meet our bad guy,
Hmm.
because the evidence points to um, a dude in a mental institution, but they actually follow that trail to his former patient, who is played by James Remar, another of the great X Files guest stars. If you don't know who James Remar is, his two most famous roles are probably in Walter Hill films. He was in The Warriors, and he was the bad guy in 48 Hours. And he also played Dexter's dad in Dexter. So long career,
Isn't
really
he in The
intense acting.
Sopranos?
I don't remember him being in The Sopranos, but he might have been.
I think he was, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. But at any rate, basically, what the investigation leads to is that he is actually the source of this evil, and he is manipulating people psychologically from his padded cell. And a lot of these crimes he's committing, like it's not an escape plan or anything, although it does lead to an escape plan. That's the thing. He's mostly just doing it for kicks, and it does ultimately unveil this scenario where he does escape from the institution. He does appear to be killed, and again, it's Scully being the brains who puts it together. That all the people that he killed, their names spell out Daemonicus if you take initials from each name. And it was basically all just a game to get him out of the institution.
Mm,
And even Doggett has to admit to Reyes, like, shit, you're right. That guy was fucking evil. And he did do this. So it's another episode of Doggett more coming around to things that he was previously skeptical about. Um, Great horror episode, I thought. Just a little too similar to the previous episode about the same subject matter.
I feel you. I kind of felt the same. And yeah, I'm looking at the IMDb page. He wasn't in The Sopranos. I was confusing him with somebody else. Apparently, he's more famous from Sex in the City. So I don't remember his character in Sex in the City,
I
but
never saw that, but
yeah, I would watch it every once in a while, but I never really followed it. But anyway, but it did one thing. It did feel like forever since we had a Monster of the Week, so I was kind of pumped
mm-hmm.
by that. I did like the freaky shadow figures. Okay, it would have been better for me if they hadn't shown the bad mask face. Um, and nice to see Reyes in action. You know, doing her thing. And I like seeing Scully teaching at Quantico. You know, but still doing autopsies. So you know, she has this life outside of the X Files for now. Um, and yeah, it's just we're past the transition phase. This is a full on Doggy and Reyes X Files, and this guy, Mr. Cobalt, you know, he is awesome, and I love the nasty vomit scene. That was
Mm-hmm.
disgusting, but it was still at a point where Doggy thought the guy was screwing him around, and he doesn't get the vomit tested, you know. So, and also look at this, Scully.
That vomit scene was like beyond awful. Actually, I almost threw up watching that.
Oh yeah, it just came out of nowhere. I was like, good lord, but cool little scene. And what's up with Scully? Almost 10 years on the force, and she goes out alone into a dark dock. Come on, Scully, you know better. And he gets away with it, doesn't he? At the end.
No, he they catch him, but they shoot him and he jumps off a dock and they never find his body.
Yeah, so he gets
He
away
does
from
get away with it. Yeah.
it, you know.
That was his whole plan all along. Like,
No, but pretty good. It was a nice little monster of the week. I'm with Pete on that one. Like, I think what takes it down a notch is that we just got into this evil thing, and X Files tends to have this problem with just painting with a broad brush when they get into this idea of just evil. And maybe
yeah.
in 1994 or 93 or whatever, early season X Files, there wasn't anything like that on TV. And it might have really been scary when somebody's talking about it's just pure evil, because the only thing we had that was that dark or could go that dark, at least from what I recall, is Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack, and he
Yeah.
scared the shit out of me when I used to watch Unsolved
Yeah.
Mysteries. Some evil characters, and his great delivery in narrating, and is this a case of pure
Now,
evil?
Bill Curtis on A&E actually had some really good stuff as well.
What did he
Uh,
do?
what was it called? American Justice, and I think he did Cold Case Files as well. He had
Yeah,
at
but
least three shows, but yeah, American Justice was boss, and
no,
City Confidential, that was his other one.
no, I never saw that. Let me
Oh,
see.
American Justice was badass, man.
When were those on? It was like early.
Oh, late
Eight.
'90s, early 2000s, I think.
Okay, I've probably seen a few of these, but I'm just talking about just early stuff. I mean, I didn't watch Twin Peaks when it was first on. That's a pretty evil. There's a lot of really gruesome, evil stuff on that, but it was kind of like a cult hit. But like in mainstream television, we they weren't really touching these topics. So that's what I'm saying. It's like just painting with a broad brush and saying evil, it
Yeah,
would work from season 1 to 4, but we're in 2001. You got to be a little bit more sophisticated with it, which I thought the other episode was, the
yes.
first one. Than this one. This one just saying, oh, some people are just evil. Yeah, we've heard that a million times before. But a good attempt. Okay, a good attempt. Anyway, moving on, guys. Moving right along, we get another weirdo episode,
Mm,
which is 4D, if I'm not mistaken. Is
yeah,
it 4D? Yes, it
it
is.
is.
Which didn't really make much sense, but kind of an interesting attempt at something different. And it premiered on December 9th, 2001, to 8.9 million viewers, written by Steven Maeda, directed by Tony Warmby, 8.2 rating. When Doggett is shot and hospitalized with severe injuries, all evidence points to Ray as his attacker. And I did like the opening, you know, kind of like on a stakeout, trying to
Hmm.
catch some dude. But dude kind of appears, disappears, and Doggett gets shot. Gets shot
Yeah,
and
shot badly.
very badly. He's in the hospital bed for most of the episode. But the thing here, the clincher of this episode, is that apparently there's this parallel universe where Doggett is not shot, uh, but Monica Reyes gets her throat slit. So this Doggett that shot somehow is able to have some contact with that parallel universe, and he starts telling the Monica in his I got shot universe that this guy that shot him is jumping between universes, and that's basically the story. It all comes down to this showdown where what Doggett says is going to happen to Monica, which is getting her throat slit, is going to happen, and it nearly does. And he asks her to unplug him because if she unplugs him in this universe, the other Doggett will come back in the other universe.
Yes, yeah.
No, Pete, it's all kind of out there. I'm just going to read something here. It says, let's just forget about how awfully written this episode was for a second and instead take time to consider the villain. Yes, he was a crab crazy villain, but think about what he did. He literally screwed up an entire parallel universe and duped a lot of people to die. Mulder, Scully, and Doggett and Reyes are very important to the X Files universe, as though they don't have a giant role in the grand scheme of things. They have saved people from hundreds of different paranormal creatures. With Doggett and Reyes dead in the parallel universe, they aren't going to be around to stop any other supernatural creatures. So this guy's just an asshole. This killer here. And no Doggett in the same dimension. One magically disappears when Skinner calls, although the Doggett who gets shot entered this dimension several hours before. So if it's impossible to have two Doggetts in the same dimension, the original one could never have gone to Ray's apartment. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I was
that's overthinking a bit much. I think the reason why Doggett keeps flashing back to his original reality is
yes.
because he was in both, right? He's the only Doggett he's the only one of anyone who's been in both because he walks through that force field, right? That's like the portal, right? He chases the guy down the
Is that
alley,
what it
and
was?
yeah, he chases him down the alley and he follows him into his reality, and that's
Um,
when he gets shot. How he actually winds up being shot in his own reality, like I don't know, maybe the guy like threw him back out the portal or something. I don't know,
yeah, because that's
but
what's confusing. Because he did go through, but then he wouldn't be in this one.
I know. It's a bit confusing. This is one of those episodes that's kind of like Star Wars Episode 9, where it works a lot better if you just don't think about it too much. Because it's a bit, there's a lot of questions and they're not going to get answered. So, okay. So basically, you got an alternate reality and you have, one reality where Doggett gets shot, winds up a cripple, probably going to die. And I did actually kind of like the writing of Shock Doggett in this one because it's totally consistent with his character. Like, it's like, pull the plug, man. I don't want to live like this.
Hmm.
And, that he would be willing to do that for Monica is almost incidental. But he's like willing to say, like, man, like, there's another Doggett out there, and he's kind of telling her, like, this is where, like, okay, we've lost that Mulder Scully romance vibe, but it's like they've already hinted in the previous season, like, these two kind of like each other. The problem isn't Monica, actually. Again, it's like Doggett. He's a tight ass. He's like he's closed up. He's not willing to open up. But here on his deathbed, he's like, "You got a chance with another Doggett. Like, I hope this Doggett is better to you than I was."
Hmm.
So, you know, plot holes and logic aside, I really like this episode for how it developed their relationship and really evolved the characters as individuals besides that. It didn't make any sense. I
No,
agree with that, but it's the
no.
X Files, it's not necessarily supposed to always make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the scene where he kills his mom. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah, because his mom found out he was sneaking into another reality. And the reason she reported him is because she was jealous. Wasn't she had a problem with him being a serial killer? It's like, you're neglecting your mom to sneak off into another reality while I'm here stuck alone having trouble feeding myself. Like, she just did it because she was a bitchy, naggy mom. She didn't
I
care that he was a serial killer at all.
I know. And I just wrote twisty episodes so far. This is what, as I'm watching it, I said, twisty episodes so far. I have no clue. But yeah, like Pete said, that's the only saving grace is that it does show a bit of the care that Doggett has for Monica, and I think later episodes kind of hints that he may have a little bit of a crush on her, uh, but he just can't get over some stuff in his past. But kind of, well, I wouldn't say it's forgettable because such a wacky plot that it's kind of hard
No,
to.
this is one of the most memorable episodes, actually.
Yeah, well,
As far as Monster of the Week goes, like this one's stuck in my mind.
let me see here. We're gonna finish out, folks, with Lord of the Flies, classic book.
Another Vince Gilligan tribute.
Thomas Schnauz wrote this one, and Kim Manners directed it. It premiered on December 16th, 2001 to 7.1, whoops, no, to 9.9 million viewers. It's got a 7.1 rating. When an amateur stunt performer is killed while performing a daring act for a local cable reality show. Oh, now I remember this episode. Scully
Yeah,
discovered that the culprit was apparently a swarm of killer flies hidden in the victim's brain. Yeah, they're doing like a jackass style episode, I guess.
yeah.
Was working off of that, the popularity of that at the time. It's called Dumbass, the show.
Yeah. And Aaron Paul plays dumbass as well.
Hmm.
So another X Files alumni who went on to work with Vince Gilligan.
Mm. What do you think of this one?
Uh, I actually really enjoyed it. Actually, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed season 9 in the first quarter because man, it had some weird ass episodes, and this one, like, okay, it has, first of all, it has the mockery of Jackass, which I never liked. Apparently, it's experiencing a nostalgia resurgence, which
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
trying to ignore.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
I'm trying
movies
to.
got these rave ratings. I'm like, I've never seen
Yeah,
one of them, but it's getting good reviews.
yeah, I'm trying to ignore it. I'm just trying to pretend it doesn't exist. But this show kind of, like, this episode makes fun of exactly how how annoying people felt, how annoyed people felt about it at the time. So it starts with the host, who is played by Aaron Paul, who of course people
Jesse.
will remember from, yeah, Jesse from Breaking Bad, Todd and BoJack Horseman, a lot of great roles. And he's doing this stunt where he's getting stuffed in a shopping cart and pushed down a hill, and he's supposed to jump off a ramp, but I don't know, something goes wrong and the cart goes sideways. But when they go to check his body, and this is what an awesome scene. This is one thing I really loved about this episode. His head explodes with fucking flies. It's like all caved in and all these flies fly out. It's so gory. It's not really gory because gore implies blood, but it's gross. It's really gross.
It is. It surprised
Um,
me. I had forgotten about that scene. It was cool makeup job. Whatever creature.
yeah. So Scully, now in her part-time work, does the autopsy, and she finds out that he didn't die from the accident, but that flour larvae were already existing in his brain, and they just all hatched at the same time. Which is okay. The scene was disgusting enough, but what could make it more disgusting is that he already had fly eggs in his brain that all hatched simultaneously. So, good premise to start the episode. And then Reyes and Doggett start to do the detective work, and they find a number of similar attacks, which all happen to be related to bullying of the son of the principal, and she's really protective of him, so they're not letting him get anywhere near it. But we get things like this other dude who worked on the show has like the word jackass or dumbass, I believe, carved in his back with like what appears to be fly larvae. So they they get through Scully's help that this is mostly being caused by pheromones, insect pheromones. And what it all leads to basically is that the principal's son is a flyboy, like not a pilot. He's literally a human fly.
Yes.
And he can generate pheromones and like cause larvae to be planted in people. And the nice twist to the episode is that they go to bust him, and they find out that the principal is actually Mama Fly.
Mhm.
she she's the big boss fly, and she's been trying to protect him. She's been trying to be a good mother. And it ends with them taking off. And there's this sweet scene at the end because the whole thing is because he's reaching puberty. He's in love with this girl. He feels like she's being treated like shit by the boys she hangs out with, and he uses his powers to spell out "I love you" with fireflies at the end. So for a movie about, or well, a show about, a fly mama and her fly baby killing people, it had kind of a sweet ending.
Yeah. And you made me almost like this episode. I didn't really dig it that much. But again, for the same reasons, I like the beginning, even though it was fucking long. It was one of the longest intros I've seen to the X Files. Um, but I kind of for the same reason we kind of downgraded the Day Monicas, whatever, a little bit because we've seen it before. And my last note over here was like, so over the teen with weird abilities because they're going through puberty plot, but oh,
Right.
there's no in the end. Um, what is this attempt at old school humor with Bronzino falls mega flat? Who's Dr. Rocky Bronzino? Is that the psychologist? I don't know. Whatever. I wrote that down as a note. Not even remember who Dr. Bronzino is. But anyhow, yeah, that's how I felt about it. I was like, okay, I'm not a huge fan of those episodes to begin with a few exceptions. Like I like the one with the two friends. Remember the high school girls
Yo,
who
yeah, yeah,
that's a classic, So there's
it
there's a
is.
few ones, but it's just not my favorite type of episode to begin with when we get the whole teen going through puberty. Therefore, they start having weird powers type stuff, or they are already weird, and then, you know, it manifests itself. So, yeah, this is the lowest rated one of this bunch for me. I gave it a 2.5. Not really my cup of tea, but cool opening. Cool to see our friend Jesse in there.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Vince got his cast from the X Files.
Yeah, basically, like I don't think we've seen Jonathan Banks on there yet, but we've had Brian Cranston, Dean Norris, no Anna Gunn, no Aaron Paul, Michael McKean, uh, Better Call Saul, but still, um, yeah. So at least 4 or 5 actors that he used in those two shows, yeah, from the X Files.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he got his chops there. He learned his chops.
Hmm.
So that's it, y'all. Short episode tonight because we only got 20 episodes in season 9, and as Pete said, they kind of knew it was the end. Therefore,
And
they
Phil
did.
spent longer making the slides than we actually spent on the air. So,
Oh yeah, he was a pain in the ass tonight, guys. A pain in the ass, but I figured it out. So Next week we will be back talking about the truth, and we'll get back to some mythology and some other things like provenance and blah blah blah. Okay,
All right,
folks.
quick skipper watch.
Oh yeah, we can't forget that. Oh shit. Let's go back. It's episode 1. Nothing important happened today.
Oh yeah, definitely watch. I mean, if you're not going to watch this, you might as well skip all of season 9.
Exactly. Like stop at season 8 if you don't watch this, and it's not bad. It's totally watchable. It just doesn't like
Yeah,
spark your imagination like earlier stuff, but it's not bad. And I say watch. Yeah, you got to see the conclusion.
no, of course, of course.
Yeah, there's a big explosion there. Demonicus.
Yeah, I'm gonna say watch this for James Remar, and it does have like a really nice, clever swerve ending where because you're almost with Doggett and like this guy's full of shit, and then at the end where everyone realizes, holy shit, he played us and he got away with it. It's like I think that's what separates it from the other evil episodes. It's like,
Yep.
man, like this guy got us.
You got it. There's a nasty vomit scene. So
Yes.
trigger warning. But I'm with you. I say watch. It's not classic stuff, but it's above the usual as far as quality. And 4D.
Yeah. I mean, this one stuck in my memory for that alone. I think that I remembered like most of the details of this. That makes it a watch. It's illogical, but I mean, it's science fiction. Illogic goes with science fiction. So put
Yeah.
aside your disbelief. Think comic book writing, alternate realities. Shit happens. Enjoy the character development.
Timey wimey. Yeah, I'm on the fence with this one, man, because I wasn't a huge fan of it. But I'm gonna give this one a watch with an asterisk. Just watch to make up your own mind. I probably would never put it back on again, but it's good enough where come up with your own conclusion at the end of how you felt about it. And episode 5, Lord of the Flies.
I'm giving this a watch for sheer ickiness, man. It's gross as fuck. Arguably grosser than the vomit scene. Like those heads caving in with the fly larvae, the mama fly.
Yeah,
It's all pretty icky. So extra points for grossness on this one.
yeah, I did not like this one, guys. So I say skip. There's better ones earlier on in the series when it comes to these teens with puberty problems. Like there's the other one about the kids that were getting their powers from the cave that had some type of magnet stuff in there, and they were all
I think this was better than that, though.
yeah, it's about the same. But I think that one I would watch again. If I was forced to watch two of them, I would say yeah, I'll watch that one before this one. That one it wasn't great either. So I give it a skip. A hard skip for me with Lord of the Flies. Watch the no, I was gonna say watch the movie. The movie Lord of the Flies is not as good as the book. Read the book Lord of the Flies and stuff.
Of
Okay,
course.
and that's it. We will be back next week.
Right?
Hopefully, I'll be able to set up my little thing here much faster. And I'm going to bed, Pete. I had a long day.
All right. Well, I actually finished work at 10 a.m. today, and I don't have to work until 4 p.m. tomorrow.
I'll
So I've
see.
had a very lazy day.
Watch a movie. Finish Drive My Car.
No, I finished that last week, actually. It was an amazing movie. Uh,
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I was
yeah.
wondering if you were going to like it or not because it's a little slow. It's a little ponderous, but it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's based on a Murakami novel, though. And I haven't read very many of his books, but when I watched the movie, it's like, yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing Murakami would write.
Cool. So I'm happy that you enjoyed it. Okie dokie, folks. Until next time, we will be back.
Yeah,
Thanks for
trust no one.
never.